Yeah, let me introduce our beta male of the week, and then we'll touch base with Phil. So our beta male of the week is Beto O'Rourke, and he's the beta male of the week because he was recently on The View about a week ago, and that's a show led by Whoopi Goldberg, Jay Behar, what's her name, Jane Behar, and
oh man,
Megan McCain.
I can't even
and
watch
another
that show,
woman
man.
used to be a
I can't
Fox
even
contributor.
watch that show, dude.
So he was on there revamping his campaign because his first efforts failed. So now he's rebranding himself, and he's trying to appeal to the pro-feminist, anti-men voter bloc in women. So he's on there looking real pathetic and apologizing for a
looking
couple
real
things.
pathetic. I like the language.
He's gonna be addressing. We're gonna show the video. He's gonna be addressing his picture on the cover of Vanity Fair that is titled "Born to Be an American President." He's gonna apologize for that because he's gonna tell you that he has certain privileges that kind of make him have put him in advantageous situations. And one of those privileges is being white. And then he's also going to apologize for saying that he's a part-time dad because that was really offensive to his wife. So he's just pandering to the lady voters. And while he's out there, he just looks real beta-ish and looks real weak and pathetic. So that's why he's our beta male of the week. I want the guys to see the video real quick, and then we'll flip it over to Phil. He's got a lot of good insight about beta males in general. Let's just go to the video real quick.
Mr. O'Rourke, you've been a hot topic on the show. You did a Vanity Fair cover to announce your campaign, and you said you were, quote, born to be in it. You went across the country alone on a road trip after you lost your election, and you said you, quote, sometimes help raise your kids. These are things in my mind that a female candidate wouldn't be able to get away with. Do you think you can get away with more because you're a man? And do you have any regrets about launching on the cover of Vanity Fair?
You're right. There are things that I have been privileged to do in my life that others cannot. And I think the more that I travel and listen to people and learn from them, the clearer that becomes to me. When women in this country are paid 80 cents on the dollar that a man makes, African American women 61 cents, Latinas 53 cents. When you have 10 times the wealth in white America than you do in black America, when you have the largest prison population on the face of the planet, and it's disproportionately comprised of people of color, the systematic foundational discrimination that we have in this country in every aspect of life is something that I have not experienced in my lifetime. And I've had advantages that others could not enjoy. So being aware of that, and then doing everything in my power to help correct that, working with others, ratifying the Equal Rights Amendment, for example, so that it is beyond the shadow of a doubt that women will be treated equally in this country. Staring in the face the legacy of slavery and segregation and Jim Crow and continued suppression in our economy, in our democracy, in our system of justice, it's the only way that you begin the work of repair and stop visiting those injustices on the generations that follow. So yes, we have our work cut out for us in this country.
What about the part-time dad thing?
Yeah, so
You
listen.
got some flack for that one.
Absolutely, and I deserved it.
What did your wife
absolutely.
say? I'm sure your wife wasn't thrilled.
So listen, in a real ham-handed way, I was trying to acknowledge that she has a lion's share of the responsibility during this campaign.
As most women do.
That's right. And not only does she work, she is the principal caregiver to our kids,
right.
Is supporting me, campaigns with me as she just did in New Hampshire this last weekend, and trying to acknowledge that by saying she's raising our kids, sometimes with my help. I called Amy after I got that criticism. I said, tell me, am I saying this wrong? And she said, I know what you're trying to say, and I really appreciate where you're coming from. But the way in which you said it sounds flip.
Yeah.
It minimizes what I'm doing and, frankly, what a lot of other women in this country are doing. So you need to rethink this and say this differently.
Right.
So listen, I have a lot to learn and still am, and I'm learning from the best.
Said that very nicely.
That's right. Yeah.
But I mean, really, man, it is absolutely obscene to me that when you talk about people who want to create diversity and create change, and yet they're still talking about things that really in this country shouldn't even be relevant today. Honestly, some of the things that they're talking about.
What's interesting, though, is the stuff that he's mentioning about the legacies of this country was all implemented by his own party. That's what's so fascinating.
I mean, it's obscene. It's obscene to me, man. Obscene.
I mean, there was a lot of things that he mentioned that we could actually have other shows on. We could actually, I would actually like to revisit that video because he talks about the wage gap and why people of color are in prison. I mean, do you want to just start locking up white people just because they're white to make it more equal?
And I'll plug this. If you want to read something on the legacy of slavery as it pertains to Black America, read Thomas Sowell. He has a few books on income and education that pertains to African Americans after slavery and within the 100 years after slavery, and he compares it to now. Thomas Sowell. Go read one of his books.
All right, but let's move this over to Phil. Phil, what do you got for us?
Well, I know that you touched on our heritage in episode 2.
Yeah.
So definitely, if anybody hasn't listened to episode 2, please go check it out. Matt talks about his heritage, and he also speaks for me as well regarding the Portuguese heritage. But my character, I made it known that the character is there to bask in the fear of other men, and he's there to exterminate all the soy boys, the beta males, the pretty boys.
We're gonna lose our sponsors
in the wrestling world. But the reason why that character that take on what he's there to do came about was because I noticed that pre-Trump, there wasn't really an attack on masculinity. Post-Trump, there is, and I'm gonna quote Paul Joseph Watson from InfoWars, who I'm very disappointed that Facebook has banned because he was pretty much my all-time favorite conservative speaker on social media, and he's currently banned. Luckily, he's still on Twitter, so I can still, see his content and hear him out. But he knows it, I know it, and pretty much everybody in this room knows it, that there's a war on men.
Oh yeah.
There's a war on men.
That's definitely for sure, man.
And it didn't really concern me until I saw the cover of the Hollywood Reporter on March 7, 2018. And on the cover, the headline, and it's kind of funny that the women of The View are attacking Beto for the headline, saying what it said. And again, I'm sure he had no choice in that matter. But this headline from the Hollywood Reporter says, "Triumph of the Beta Male." And I just want to make it known that the article itself, it doesn't match the cover. It doesn't match the headline, of the article. But it's just amazing that the Hollywood Reporter, they saw an opportunity to promote their agenda, to be anti masculinity. They saw an opportunity and they took it. And I feel like a lot of the mass media is taking every opportunity they can to basically praise the beta male and bash the alpha males.
Which cover is this from 2018, if you don't mind repeating?
So March 7th, 2018, the Hollywood Reporter, and on the cover are the actors in the show Silicon Valley, and which again I have nothing against the show. I think the actors are talented, and again, the article was about the show. It was about one of the well-known actors on the show, basically leaving the show because of sexual harassment charges. So that's what the article was about. But you look at the cover, you look at the headline. It says "Triumph of the Beta Male." So they're praising the beta male, and all of the actors on the cover, they're doing something that's you wouldn't see in a masculine male. They have their hands in each other's pockets. I'm sorry, I would not feel comfortable if the four of us got up and we put our hands in each other's pockets in a straight line. I mean, it's just a bizarre thing, and it was kind of then that I started to get concerned. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I don't know if you want at this moment you would want to show the cover, and it's disturbing, it's that they saw an opportunity to promote a beta male, and You know, and again, I just want to say the article doesn't reflect the headline. It doesn't reflect the cover, and I don't know if you guys want to say, you guys might be looking at it for the first time, and many of your listeners might be looking at it and hearing about it for the first time. I saw it, and I was deeply troubled.
Oh man!
And I said, where is this country going?
Well,
where this is being praised, but being a strong, man, family man, confident.
Confident.
Taking care of himself, and they've done things where they've interviewed women, even in California.
Yeah.
Super left California.
Oh, of course.
They took to the streets and they interviewed women, and they showed them two different pictures. So they have one picture where it's a skinny guy, skinny jeans, just a certain look, and then they have a picture of a guy with a shirt off. You can tell he goes to the gym. Just masculine. And they asked the women in California, and they said, who would you prefer to go out on a date with? And what do you think every single woman that they surveyed said? I want male number 2.
And male number 2 was the one who obviously looked more of a man.
Exactly.
To the gym,
exactly. So
muscle.
if real women in the world want the masculine male, why are they promoting the beta males? Why?
Yeah.
So I want to take hear
so,
from you guys.
So I think I'm going to disagree a little bit. I agree with the majority of what you said. Where I disagree is where it started. So I think this has been something in the long time making.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that it's only just become mainstream,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Especially after Trump, because Trump is considered an alpha male, so he's evil. So now the media is going to be attacking it. The reason why this is so prevalent is because, again, this is an agenda pushed by media. It's probably not supported by the vast majority of the people in the United States. We call them the silent majority, right? The same people that were claiming Hillary was going to win in a landslide. Those are the same people pushing this feminist agenda. And that's really what it is. But in my opinion, it started a long time ago. It started when the government started knocking on doors and offering women cash to not have a man in the house. When you started removing the importance of a man in the house, that's when it really started. When it became feminized, I would say probably more so in the 2000s, maybe probably more into when President Obama got elected. That's really when the media, in my opinion, really started pushing these feminist agendas, right? So now you start having the feminist movements. You're also, at the same time, you're also having gays and transgender movements that are all happening at the same time. In my opinion, this isn't coincidence. What they're doing is they want any resemblance of a man to be masculine, to be overshadowed by that feminist agenda. So they want men to be feminine. That's why you see those runway shows where they're showing off new clothes and these men are coming out in skirts and
oh, dude, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's what they're doing. They're trying to get people, even in church. Sometimes I'll talk about it because sometimes I remember going to a convention, and I say, to these church leaders, we have to be careful even in the church, because some of these fads that are happening in the church, our young men are picking up on it, and they look very feminine. The types of clothing that they wear, the tight jeans like you had mentioned, the hairstyles, just the way that they act. A lot of them just seem very feminine, and that's in all walks of life, it seems. It's just that's what happens when you rely on the media telling your kids how they should be raised and how they should act and things like that.
And again, I think it's important to say too that and I'm just speaking for myself. I have no issues with the gay community, homosexuality.
Yeah.
I have family and friends that are gay, and I love them like brothers and sisters. That's not the issue.
I have an issue with their lifestyle, but okay.
Yeah, it's okay to have an issue with their lifestyle, but I have an issue that, the people that are heterosexual are being, because again, the media, works, in many ways, many platforms. Yeah. And I just feel like you know, I grew up, and Matt's gonna love this part. I grew up with, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger with a new action movie every 3 to 4 months. Sylvester Stallone, new action movie every 3 to 4 months. Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I grew up with that, and you know, did it have an effect on, you know, my take on being a man and growing up and becoming a man? Yeah, I think it has, and you just kind of see, you know, what kind of movies are being promoted and pushed out there. And even and this is a hot topic, but you know, you have Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Just came out. I've watched every Marvel movie leading up to Endgame.
Same have I. Yes.
Her movie was the one movie I refused to watch just because of her take on men. And it's like, why am I going to pay good money to go see your movie when you're just kind of putting all men in one box? Right. Why are you doing that?
See, yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't know about that, so I actually wanted to go see Captain Marvel, but I didn't know it was a woman that was playing the role, because I'm sure there was a man.
You're thinking of
Shazam?
the Shazam one.
Shazam, yeah, Shazam.
But yeah, Brie Larson is an extreme feminist, and she basically talked bad about the majority of the people who would watch.
Like, she didn't want white men to judge her movie. It's like,
white old men.
All right.
And you know, I'm sorry. Then now you're alienating your base, and that movie got what it deserved. So
yeah,
I'm okay with that.
I mean, I'm gonna admit, when it comes out on like HBO or like Redbox, I'm probably gonna check it out. But for me to go, just because I want to, you know, I want to see all the movies. But again, for these feminists, and again, I feel like feminists, like the rabid ones, they're kind of behind this whole push for beta males, you know.
Well, because they're not really interested in being equal with men. They want to be better than men.
Yeah, they want to be above men.
That's the problem.
And in this case, they're turning into men.
And the other problem,
transgender movement and all that stuff.
The other problem is that we have to realize that there are biological differences between the two. No, I don't care what you want to say. The facts are the facts. You're a male or female. There's going to be differences. There are some things that I can't do that my wife can do, and God bless her for it. And there are some things that I can do that she can't do, and that's just the way it is. But this whole mentality of, because you want to be a man to provide for your family and to be the leader of the home, people will look at that and be like, oh, well, he's just being a Neanderthal, dragging his knuckles. And no, that's not how a true relationship. They always say, oh, you're probably abusing your wife and things like that. No, being a man is not being that way. But that's how the media wants to portray. Oh, if you're a masculine man, you must go home and beat your wife, and that's just not the way it is. You know, being a man is taking care of your family, making sure that they're doing well, and it's not. You know, when we talk about being the leader in the home, it doesn't mean that the man just has the final say and the woman just, you know, sits in a corner.
Yeah,
you know?
I think we should title this episode "Be a Man."
Be a man.
I think we should title this episode.
Paulo, you have anything to say?
I think men.
Everybody out there, man, be a man.
Not to be too preachy, men turning away from God, so they can't learn how to be real men, to provide, because it's in a man's nature and instincts to be a provider for the home. The Bible talks about that. But not even that. I think a lot of what's going on too is because of men turning away from God, you have weak men raising other men. So then it's just a cyclical effect. So you've got beta males raising kids, and then you got the family unit being primarily broken, where the man is not in the home, people having kids out of wedlock. Right. So all of that just destroys a whole society and culture. So if you want to destroy society and culture and have power over it, just take the men away or weaken the men. And you just raise up a bunch of Beto O'Rourke's and Barack Obama, and you got yourself the perfect formula. There you go.
Well, I mean, I think you made a great point. I mean, there's an attack on the family unit, and first you need to attack the strongest unit or the strongest thing that holds that unit together, and that's the man. If you look back in the olden days, I don't want to say olden days, but even go back 100 years ago, men were the leaders of the home. I mean, it was rare that you actually see
man of the house.
You don't even have to go that far, right? So if I just look at my family, right? So my grandfather raised 7 kids, and was the man of the house. He worked. As a kid, I remember coming home from school, and he would come home from work, and my grandmother would be home. She'd take care of the kids and cook dinner, and that was okay. But all of a sudden, you do something like that today, and it's sexist, and it's crazy to me.
You sound like a
one more
Neanderthal
thing,
man.
Yeah.
You sound like a crazy person.
And I'll be honest with you, my wife is a stay-at-home mom. She takes care of the kids, because I would rather my wife teaching my child than a complete stranger. It's just the way it is, and she agrees with that.
And I'll say this too. Even nature teaches you that the men are supposed to be the leaders and like the beacon of light in the home. And my son has a dog that he brings over once in a while. She's actually over this weekend, and the dogs instinctively they draw towards the man of the house or the alpha presence of the home. So this dog follows me around everywhere. So even nature teaches you. There's something there that nature is teaching you, that this there's something that they're feeling that's telling you that this is how things are. Men are supposed to be that kind of alpha male and presence. That's why dogs were called man's best friend for that particular reason. So even nature teaches you what we're talking about.
So all the men listening, don't apologize for being a man.
Don't apologize.
Stop apologizing.
You're an alpha male. Be an alpha male. Be a man who takes care of his family. Be a man. Be a man.